see, we're trying to get our arms around all the technology. And thank you to my colleague Ryan Hyde out in St. Louis. He's been working on this. So we are going to get things going. And I think we'll have the ability to do what we need to do also in terms of our pledge, because I know that Glenn has been giving me grief as always. So let me make sure. Let me see here. I love these. Some of these things we can do here. So look at that right there. Yeah, follow me on Twitter, and we'll put some other details up in a moment. And let's start like we should every time, and tribute it to my friend Glenn for doing it. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So see, there we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, that's very cool. Thank you to Ryan Height for getting that set up for us. And so let's go back to it. Hey, today, I just want to talk about something I noticed. I got up early. I'm still on the road. I got up early and saw an article in Politico, which I'll put up. Basically, it describes, it's a crazy article. I mean, like a lot of things in Politico, but they're writing about how Joe Biden and the new Joe Biden Democratic Party is amazing, they say, because instead of talking to the American people about what we, the people, need, what all the people need, the president is for all the people, he is talking in hyphenated Americans. And they say this is progress. Now, it would seem to me that, Martin Luther King's dream speech and the sort of vision of what I would call the civil rights leaders that wanted a nation that would treat everybody the same instead of favoring one hyphenated group, say white Americans, that was their goal, right? And over these years, there's obviously been places and times, and there can be a discussion anytime about when some group is mistreated, right? When some hyphenated American group is slurred, when FDR interns Japanese Americans, when the Democrats in the South target African Americans, when FDR interns, Japanese Americans. In the South, the Democrats, the Ku Klux Klan Democrats targeted African Americans. Pick a topic. I'm happy to have a conversation about when there's targeting of hyphenated Americans. But there's two things I want to tell you. Number one is we should be concerned about Americans first, right? We should have a president who's worried about Americans first. And we have right now a dynamic where we're talking about 20 million, could be 40 million illegal aliens to America who are getting in line ahead of a lot of Americans. This is not a way to run a nation. It may be a way to run the globe. That might be how you'd run the globe if you could run the globe, which it appears maybe that's what Joe Biden's trying out for. But the second point here is the hyphenated American movement that Joe Biden is embracing now. The Politico article is all with leaks from the White House. This is what they want the message to be. And the hyphenated American movement, Native American, LGBT American, African American, all these different hyphenates. Here's the thing. It's racist. It's actually racist to treat someone as by the characteristic that they can't change, your color of your skin, your ethnic background. Now, maybe LGBT is one that doesn't fit the same way, but the hyphenated American movement, it's just plain racist. And I think more and more people, Joe Biden is the most racist human being we've ever seen be in high public office. I guess maybe there were some racist justices maybe at some point, but in the modern era, we've never seen anybody like this. He had a racist history, right? He had a history of not wanting to segregate the schools. He didn't want busing, all that jive that he tries to answer now. Kamala Harris called him racist, right? Called him the racist that he was, or in the past. And then we were told he's supposed to improve, right, with age. Except the fact is that he hasn't improved with age. And he has now embraced a presidency based on racism, based on being racist. And he's being aided by the television networks, by cable news, by big tech, who's playing along with this race. There's nothing worse than this. In many ways, this is the worst kind of hate. If you're a Christian, you believe that every human being is made in the image and likeness of God. Every one. Not the white ones, not the black ones, not the brown ones, not the yellow ones, not the pink ones, not the green ones, not the orange ones, all of them. And when you start to pull them out based on characteristics like hyphens, like Joe Biden's doing, it's actually the worst kind of racism. And we're sitting here watching the president brag about this. We're sitting here watching the president tear people apart by putting them into groups. And it's extraordinary to see, and it's extraordinary that we have again the fake news and the big tech and big media following along with big government. Now, again, what we've said before is that in your gut you know it's wrong, right? In your gut, you know, in your head, in your gut, in your heart, right? And in your being, in your soul, you know this kind of racism is wrong. You look and you see, most of us, and see, unless you're brainwashed, you see really troubling stuff. Like this is really, and you say to yourself, that's not right. That's not comporting with reality. Why are they doing this? Now, one reason they're doing it is power, because it makes people fearful and it makes people craven. If you're in the group that gets served by being one of the hyphenated American groups, you might just like it. By the way, it's demeaning, and it's in the long run, it's diminishing, but that may be why you like it. But the reality is we feel something's wrong. And, yesterday we were talking about that, and we were saying, get locked into our roots, Holy Scripture, our founding documents, what it means to be an American, the tradition. When we just did the Pledge of Allegiance, when you hear the words, and under God, of course, everyone remembers, but we pledge to our republic. We pledge to this founding that's extraordinary. We have to sort of reconnect. We have to work to connect up to our patriotism, to our celebration of what we are. And then here's something else. I got a text from one of you, and they said, well, what can we do? And I know that's what people are feeling. A lot of people, another one, this isn't the same text, another one from a great woman I know in Missouri, a great leader. And she said, Ed, we're just so disheartened. We see President Biden give a speech on guns. He lies about it. He lies about the current law. He lies about what happens. He lies about who the perpetrators are. He lies about all of it. And this woman said to me, we're just so disheartened. And we're looking around saying, where's the movement of people to change what's going on? And that's what we've talked about. And so here's the first text I mentioned, said, what can we do? Here's one thing you can do. In the last couple of days, I signed up to be a delegate in the Republican convention for governor, because Virginia has the Commonwealth of Virginia has its governor's race in 2021. And it was a little thing. It took me 5 minutes online, and I had to go through the process, put in the things, and get my voter ID and get signed up to participate. And I guess a month from now, there's a convention, and there'll be primaries in places. But here's the thing: you have to decide to get involved. So, we're going to be talking more about this in the coming months. It's a conversation I started with General Flynn, where General Flynn and I were talking about what can you do? What can we ask people to do? What specifically? Nobody wants to give more money. Nobody wants to be told to send an email. Nobody really wants to sign up on sheets to get newsletters. Nobody really. That's fine. And I bet they would want to see General Flynn's newsletter, which is coming, by the way, in the next couple of weeks. He and I've been talking about that. He's going to do at least a weekly newsletter that you're going to want to get. But I think more people, we need something in this era, this moment, where we feel it's wrong, we feel like the brainwashing, we feel like the narrative machine is destroying so many people around us. It's destroying people around us. Joe Biden is bragging about being a racist, and the narrative machine is making people feel badly about which group they're in, right? Think about if you're a working class white man in pick a state, Ohio, or New York, anywhere. And you're being told, what doesn't matter? Men, they're secondary to the women in the rhetoric of the hyphens, but certainly white men, ethnically white men, forget about it. You're going to be at the bottom of the list. You might not get, services depending on what's going on. That's how it feels. And so what we've been talking about, and what I'm saying to you is, you got to do something, right? Yeah. And one of the things we're going to talk about in the coming months is how to be involved in politics. You don't have to like it. You don't have to think it's going to solve everything, but you can be involved. You can run for office. You can actively support a candidate for office. But I'm talking more specifically. I'm not saying just, I like Joe, he's running for sheriff. That's good. But actually go and be a part of his campaign, because the people who show up are the people who shape what happens in those races and happens in the candidates' minds. Candidates are there reacting to voters and reacting to volunteers and reacting to not just dollars, but see, the left will buy dollars. I mean, the left and right will buy with dollars. And what we have to do is be boots on the ground and find ways to change how the thinking is and give each other, again, solidarity. If you've never worked on a campaign or been a candidate, not for anything big, you get dog catcher. I ran for a county supervisor once. There's a fraternity, a camaraderie, a solidarity about being in the fray. And so I know it's distasteful right now. People think the parties are broken, but there's only one party that's more conservative that has a chance. It's Trump's party. It's the Republican Party, and you've got to get in there. So we'll talk more about that coming forward. But here's the one last thing. I had David Horowitz on the radio show, the great David Horowitz of the David Horowitz Freedom Center. And also, of course, got frontpagemag.com, amazing guy. And he said on that program, it's 2 nights ago, if you go to proamericareport.com, you can see all the links there and you can sign up. Yeah, it's up there. Proamericareport.com. Sign up for the daily email and the links to the show are there. And David Horowitz said, these people are the most racist people. This is before the Hyphenated American article in Politico. This is maybe 2 days ago. And David Horowitz said, these people are the most racist people we've ever had. And we have to be willing to call them that. We have to be willing to say, this is what you're doing. This is what matters. This is who you are. And so Joe Biden, he's a racist. And you know how under his rules, if he was really going to give opportunities to African Americans, he'd resign because then we'd have an African American woman as president. Isn't that the rules? Isn't that the hyphenate? Why does a white guy from Delaware, an old white guy, get to be the president? That's unfair. Isn't that unfair? Of course, they don't care about the rules. They don't care about hypocrisy. They just care about power. So, but understand, he's the most racist president we could ever imagine. It would be better if he acted like his old self, where he was just a racist. You could hear it. In this time period, he's acting in a way that he doesn't say he's racist the same way. He's not as slippery in terms of, not as nasty in his language and in hanging out with people that are really unpleasant. No, he's using policies to divide us and tear us apart and demean people. He's a racist. It's a real deal. It's a real deal. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday. I'll be on